You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Tonight's episode is going to be a fun one. Happy to be back here on this Friday night. Of course, this clip, along with all the other content in tonight's episode, is all pre-recorded. I had a chance to sit down with three people that I interviewed today, three wonderful people that joined me on the show, and just some clarification before we get into who these first two guests are. We were unable to get Eddie Steele on the show. He unfortunately ran late and was unable to attend the interview, but we're going to get Eddie on the show at some point, so don't worry about that. But yeah, the people who are joining me from MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development is, of course, the owner, Matt Gorman, and MCN Sports Advisor Skills Coach, Dustin Fosvelt. In tonight's episode, I had a chance to ask Matt and Dustin about their time in hockey before MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development, what it was like for Matt starting up MCN, as well as where the company is at now with the number of clients that they have and what they offer to their athletes with their advising service. So please join me in welcoming in the first two guests in tonight's episode, Matt Gorman and Dustin Fosvelt of MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development, here on the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions.
Wow!
Joining me now is Matt Gorman and Dustin Fosvelt of MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. It's going to be awesome to just get the insights on what MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development is and their history in their respective sports. Both of these guys played hockey before joining MCN. For Matt, before starting up MCN. So Matt, Dustin, how are you boys doing on this Friday morning out in Alberta?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's good to be here, Graeme, and joining you on the show here. We're sitting with some sunshine here. Dustin and I are pretty lucky in Alberta. We're just in Edmonton, and we're getting ready to actually go watch a little hockey at the Nate University. One of the junior camps is starting up here in about a half hour, so it's a good day.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, right there with them. Can't really complain about this this sun that we're getting right now, and the heat and all that in the western part of the country and stuff like that right now in Alberta. So it'll be nice, like we were talking earlier with Matt, and it'll be nice to kind of cool down in the rink a little bit. I know, Canadians, like we were saying, is always, it's either too cold or too hot, but I mean at the same time, like, it was a good time for hockey. So
yeah, no doubt. And I know that before we went live, I said it was a bit cloudy here in Manitoba, Winnipeg here, but I'm looking out the window now. It's looking like the sun is out, so should be a great day. Should be a great Friday with a lot of sunshine. So just starting up with you guys, just before MCN, starting off with you, Matt. You grew up in St. Albert, Alberta. You have a strong background in hockey. You played junior hockey in the AJHL for the Bow Valley Eagles and the Fort Saskatchewan Traders. So just looking back at that time, how was that experience like playing junior hockey in the AJHL?
You know what, Graeme? Being from St. Albert, they did have the St. Albert Saints at the time, and that was a team that I grew up watching, and my older brother played in that on the St. Albert Saints, and I always looked up to those guys, and we had billets all those years, and then when it came down to myself playing junior, it was one of those things that another team had recruited me, and I ended up leaving home to going into Canmore with the Bow Valley Eagles. I actually set off with one of my best buddies, a couple of them actually, and we drove out and tried out for the Eagles, and we all made that team, which was very cool and a memorable time. And then basically an hour before the trade deadline that first year, the Canmore Eagles had a different idea as far as my path with the team, and I was traded to the Fort Saskatchewan Traders that first year. And basically, what happened, I get a call that night saying I'm traded with the Fort Sask Traders. The next day, I play against Canmore Eagles, my old team. So it was almost just like a jersey switch, and
Yeah.
I ended up going in there and competing against my buddies and ex teammates. So it was pretty unique.
Yeah, for sure. And just a unique experience for sure. Just getting traded and then going up against your team the very next game. Just what was that like? Just being able to when you were on the other side, getting to build a friendly rivalry with your friends.
You know, it was really, I think back to that time, and I think I was a little bit hurt. My feelings were hurt that I was traded as a young person. You don't really know how to handle that, and it all happened so fast. Basically, the phone call came, and because at that time, when it's trade deadline, and I think everybody can speak to that. I'm sure Dustin has his own thoughts on that as well. And basically, everybody's sitting by the phone because you're always unsure of what's going to happen and what your fate is. So I remember the phone ringing, answering it, and there was a few different options that they were kind enough to give me a few different teams that had some interest in me. So basically, it was a decision, and then the next day going in, and I was a little bit hurt, so I played with a little bit more energy, I think, and I actually got to score a few goals that game against my old goalie there. I think it was just some lucky shots where he felt bad for me, let me score.
Well, that's nice of him. He let you score a few on him, but yeah, just your time with the Traders. You became the eighth player in league history to score over 60 goals in a season. You were also named league MVP. Now, did that happen in that year when you got traded, or did it happen further down the line?
Yeah, that was further down into my last year of the junior hockey, and yeah, it's I had some really good line mates. Basically, that year, everything just kind of went into place. I had Nick Deshane, who went on to play at Yale University and signed with Philadelphia, and played in Europe. And we actually played against each other as a pro in Europe years later. But I had just a fantastic line, and another player by the name of Chris Waltz that he spent some time in the Western League that year and just created space and giving me the opportunity to basically go in and score some open net goals. So if there was a chance to score an open net goal, I was that guy dishing in some garbage there. And it was basically because of those characters that were always feeding me the easy goals. So you know what, that team that year, it was a lot of fun and some good memories. So it helps when you have good line mates, good teammates.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you're able to have good line mates, yeah, it makes the job that much easier. Moving into you, Dustin, you're originally from Edmonton, Alberta. You're an AJHL alumni. You played 3.5 seasons for the Spruce Grove Saints. So back then, how did it come to be that you ended up playing for Spruce Grove?
Well, I mean, right before Spruce Grove, I played all my minor hockey in Edmonton, in Alberta here and stuff. And I guess, Spruce Grove being only 50 minutes outside the city, it's easy for teams like the Saints and the Sherwood Park Crusaders and all that to catch a lot of those minor hockey games in Edmonton and stuff, right? But I guess I went to actually the Red Deer Rebels camp when I was a 16-year-old after the Western Hockey League draft. I didn't get drafted, but I went to their camp, and there's a couple different stories within that, but I ended up not playing any games there that year and coming back to Edmonton as a 16-year-old and got invited to the Spruce Grove Saints spring camp in the spring there, and went there. I guess I turned a couple of heads or did something right, whatever it was, and ended up kind of getting invited to the main camp as a 16-year-old, and got listed right away as a 16-year-old for the Saints. Went back and played. I guess it was midget AAA at the time, but now it's U18 triple, and played there for a year. And then the following year, as a 17-year-old, stuck around for half a year before a couple guys came down from a couple other levels, which ultimately pushes some of the younger guys out and stuff like that. So I ended up playing half a year with the Saints as a 17-year-old, and then finishing up with in the U18 AAA in the city in Edmonton as well. And then as an 18-year-old played. That was the start of pretty much my junior career, playing 18, 19, 20. And I look back on it, I was very fortunate to be part of quite a winning organization at the time. I'm fortunate to say we didn't lose a lot of games, but just like Matt kind of said, when you have good teammates and the good age group is coming along, and the coaches and GM and stuff put all the pieces in place to kind of have a winning organization, then it's easy to have fun playing hockey when that's all happening and stuff. So I was pretty fortunate to be a part of that organization and stuff, and that was personally probably the most fun time I've ever had playing hockey. So
Yeah, and you were able to win an Hhl Championship. We'll get into that in just a bit, but just for you getting that opportunity to play at the junior hockey level in the AJHL at 17 for half a season, just how huge was that for your development moving forward into your later years in the league?
Oh, I think it was huge. It was absolutely huge, and we can talk later down the line about some players that we have right now as 16, 17-year-olds that are, asking us questions about if they should go to camps at 16 and 17 and stuff. And I always say yes. I think it's huge because when you start to get not only your name out there, but when you start to play as a 17-year-old against guys that 20 years old. I mean, that's 4 years of strength and also just experience and skill in the game that those 20-year-olds have compared to 16, 17-year-olds, right? So I think that was huge. It was a huge opportunity for me to kind of see where I was at as a player and kind of see where I could be down the line as well. So that half year playing with at the time when I was 17, Dylan Simpson was a 16-year-old on the team who ended up going down University of North Dakota and stuff. And obviously I was drafted by the Oilers and played, I think, a couple games in the NHL for the Oilers and stuff too. And so he look at things like that when you're playing against those top end players as a young player. It's really it really helps out your development and overall your confidence in the game, right? Getting older. So
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like you said, like you guys didn't do much losing. Just what was that like being able to be on this team where you guys obviously built very well throughout your 3 seasons? Just what was that like being surrounded by so much talent and being able to play with so much talent?
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible, right? I think a massive part in it's the coaches at that time. Steve Hamilton when I was 17, and then Jason McKee when I was 18. They were both in the Western Hockey League now coaching. They're just able to. They knew the culture they wanted to build, and they kind of not only searched out the talent, but they did extensive searching into the personalities and character they wanted to bring into their team too. So it was a very unselfish environment. I guess I'll say that everyone. We knew that there was a lot of talent on the team, but at the same time, everyone wanted the same thing. And not a lot of guys win an AJHL championship, so it was everyone on the same page. And when you have that kind of talent, it all comes together. And yeah, that was quite the good experience for sure.
Now I got to ask you about that AJHL championship. What year did that happen? Like how many years into the league for you?
So that would have been as a 17-year-old when I played half the year. That was technically my second year as an 18-year-old in the AJ. I started off a very, very strong season and all that. I again played with some excellent players. Matt Benning was on my team at that time. He was a 16-year-old when I was an 18-year-old. So we just had a lot of talent, and it was one of those things again where you it didn't matter who you played or home or away, whatever it was, you kind of expected to win, right? When you go in with that kind of confidence and things like that. And I think teams that are not arrogant but are confident in the way they play and that are all playing for each other, that's a hard team to beat, right? And that was an incredible year. I can't remember the exact record, but I think overall it was only 6 or 8 losses out of the 62 games or whatever we played. But it was one of those things where if we lost 2-1 or if we lost a game, it was a very quiet bus ride home, right? And we were fortunate enough to keep that cohesiveness going throughout the year and into the playoffs. And when you have like we talked about, that kind of talent, it kind of just showed even deeper into the season, into the playoffs. And we ended up beating Camrose in the AJHL final that year, and I got a couple buddies in that team, so that was a lot of fun and stuff too, that are now coaching in the AJHL from the Camrose team. But I know it was an incredible experience for sure, and something I definitely see as one of the more positives of my hockey career.
Yeah, for sure. Always a positive to be able to win a championship, right? I never had that experience of winning a championship. I can't even imagine how sweet it must have felt. So we're going to go to our first commercial break in this interview. We'll be back with Matt and Dustin to talk more about their history before MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. I've been joined by Matt Gorman and Dustin Fosvelt on this edition of the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions. We're going to go to our first commercial break in the show, so stick with us. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm joined right now by Matt Gorman and Dustin Fosvelt of MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. And I noticed that you guys are both in cars. Of course, you guys are going to watch some hockey after this interview. You're going to go in the rink and cool off. But are you guys in separate cars right now?
Yeah, we're actually parked right beside each other, Graeme.
Yeah.
We were having a little tailgate before the skate starts here in a few minutes. But yeah, we were just hanging out here and figured for the static side we'd go in our own cars. And
for the tailgate, has there been some good food going around, or has it just been talking?
No, yeah, I guess we should have brought our own food with us so that we could have sat out here and made it a real tailgate. But I know it's pretty quiet out here. We are still limited in some of these restrictions here, so it's not too rowdy out this way in Alberta yet.
Yeah, hopefully those more restrictions continue to lift and more as people get the second dose of their vaccine or just get vaccinated in general. And yeah, it should be a promising summer. I'm crossing my fingers because I want to see sports back. You guys want to see sports back. I mean, we all want to see sports back and just life in general back to normal. But let's talk about just your college careers or your hockey careers after just playing junior hockey. For you, Matt, you ended up earning a scholarship to play D1 collegiate hockey at the University of North Dakota, but turned pro instead. So what went into that decision back then to pick to choose pro instead of going the college route?
Well, I think it came down to not being as educated as I should have been when it comes down to the NCAA rules and the things that you face as a 20-year-old and essentially a 21-year-old playing if your birthday turns to that 21 side. Or so basically what happened was my high school grades and the academic side of my education, I didn't put the effort that I probably should into that. I thought like every young player, I'm going to play pro hockey, and that was on my radar. And I just didn't put the effort into the school side. And basically I was ineligible for 1 year, and I would have been redshirted for a season at the University of North Dakota. They would have redshirted me for a year, which means I'd only have been allowed to play. and watch my teammates, which isn't a terrible option. But then I did turn 20 in that season. I turned 20, and once you turn 20 and you play a game in the junior career, you lose another year eligibility, basically, is what happens, unless you're enrolled in a part-time studies program, which I wasn't. So I had a choice to either play in the playoffs or sit out that year. And I thought our team was going to go pretty deep in the playoffs that year. And we ended up losing the second round of playoffs. And basically, from that standpoint, my scholarship opportunity was gone. I just wasn't a good enough player to have 4 years of schooling to play 2. There are so many other good players out there that could fill my spot. So basically, I made the decision that I thought was right at the time to stay and play with my teammates, and you know, I had played with them for the years prior, and I just was trying to be the unselfish kind of guy. And it would have been better if we won the championship that year, but obviously it just didn't pan out as good as I had planned. So essentially, from that spot, I went through the grind of the minors, which if anybody's been through the minors, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I was a human suitcase. I traveled through many teams and right up to the East Coast, and eventually finding a little stint in the Manitoba Moose camp there. But it was a long process.
Yeah, that's crazy. You got an opportunity with the Moose in their camp. Just what were those experiences like of just going to all these different places, the uncertainty of knowing if you're on these teams or not?
You know, Graeme, I talk a lot about that as far as the kids, and everybody wants a sure thing. Everybody looks at it and goes, well, I signed an agreement with this team in junior. And the way that I put it, and our team of guys put it, is basically you're never on a team. Until that trade deadline comes, you have to be fighting for every spot, every shift you get from there on in. You have to contribute, and you know, it doesn't get any easier. You go through junior hockey, the minor hockey is gone. You're basically playing junior hockey, you're competing for a role, and then it gets even harder as you go into the minors. I remember going in, and I was 22 years old and playing against 35-year-old men that knew the game and were strong. And I remember the first face-off I took in East Coast, and I thought I'd just go in there and swipe the puck away real fast and get out of there. It didn't go that way. Basically, I went in to swipe as fast as I could, but my stick blade didn't move. He basically held my blade. I think he just held my blade, took the puck, passed it back, and the play was on. So, you know, I think back just to the difference of mentality and the strength alone of the different levels, and jumping up a few rungs. I really believe in the process, and the process would be going to university, then going into the minors, because the minors is a mental. It's a roller coaster. Is the best way to put it, and you're always fighting for your next day. Great experience. I was in Virginia. Norfolk, Virginia is one of my favorite spots with the Navy. The Navy ships there. If you've ever been there, it's just gorgeous. And the landscape that you get to see as far as playing in the minors, I've seen a lot of it because I was a suitcase. But I would never change that. It was just so fantastic to venture through.
Yeah, and just speaking of the successes that you had after that decision to turn pro, you spent the next 11 seasons playing professionally in both the U.S. and Europe, and you spent time in Germany and Italy, winning 2 league championships and 2 scoring titles along the way. So first off, just back then, what was it like playing hockey in places like Germany and Italy?
You know, it was. I remember the very first year that I went over, they were still smoking in the stadiums, and I remember going in, and it was mind-boggling because you would never. I think it was just coming out of our Alberta side too, as far as in the waiting areas and everything. And basically, that first year I was there was smoke in the stands, and I remember looking up, and you'd see people, the fans, and you just love it, and they're pounding drums and dressed up and wearing jerseys and scarves, and just like you see in a soccer game. And I remember going like, this is awesome. You know, it was just free. Everybody was free to cheer, and they sang, and they didn't analyze the game. quite as much as we do here. When you sit and
Right.
you watch our North American side, we're a little bit more preserved and reserved on that front as far as
Yeah.
watching and analyzing the game instead of enjoying the game, if that makes sense. So that's something that really stands out as far as going to Europe, and my fondest memories of the streamers. They got these fireworks going on in the arena, and you got guys smoking and drinking and singing, and just the whole atmosphere was so. I still remember that to this day, how special and unique it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. Smoking in arenas. I didn't even know that was a thing. Didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, just having a chance to watch, what is it now? The Spangler Cup. Just looking at the crowds in Europe and places like that, it's crazy. The atmosphere, it's definitely a lot different than here in places like Canada and the U.S. But just for you, winning 2 championships, winning 2 scoring titles along the way, just talk about those experiences of winning championships and winning scoring titles at those professional levels.
The championships, it's almost it's addicting. I never won one. I was never fortunate like Dustin to win one in junior. And I think the first one that I ever won was in Pee Wee hockey. And that was the one and only time that I had won one. And then after junior hockey, that year there's a senior league here in Alberta, and I went out and I played in Spirit River that year after our junior playoffs were over, and I won a championship there. And it was just a fantastic feeling, and I'll never forget that. And basically going into Europe after that, and getting that excitement again all over again. It's something that it doesn't matter if you're playing junior C hockey, you're playing junior B hockey, you're playing junior A hockey, you're playing rec hockey. It doesn't matter. When you win something and you battle for it, and you compete with the guys, and you do what your role is on a team, that's what's so special. And I remember sitting and you almost start counting down the seconds on the clock, because you're in a stressful situation. I can only imagine the guys in the Stanley Cup finals and all that. But it's the same at every level. And you're in your mind, you're going like, you want to scream out like 10, 9, like the fans are doing, because it's almost then you've succeeded once that buzzer's stopped. And it's something that you think about even after all these years. I've been out of hockey for the playing side for 12 years, and I don't think that those memories go away as far as the championships. And now we get to see these young kids winning championships, and that just brings back so many memories. As far as the goal scoring side, I in the scoring championships, I love to score goals. I was like anybody else. I love doing that, and that was just my role. But as far I don't, you know what, I don't have many memories on that. The puck just went in the net sometimes.
Yeah.
These guys can attest to, like Dustin can attest to my shot. He sees it now, and it's not very good. But it just goes in the net, and I think it was because I closed my eyes, but yeah, it's quite interesting to think back and reflect. You watch some of the old videos. I had my videos on for my daughters about a month ago, and they were watching the game footage of myself playing, and I honestly had to turn that off. There's nothing worse than watching yourself playing the game, and you find all these flaws, and you don't want to remember your game like that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Want to just remember the good memories, like the championships and putting that puck in the net. For sure, Matt. For sure.
That's it, Graeme. That's it.
Yeah. So moving over to you, Dustin. After playing in the AJHL, you ended up attending the Rochester Institute of Technology. You played NCAA Division I hockey on a scholarship. So after all the years you had of success in the AJHL, just how that opportunity come about for you to earning that scholarship to RIT?
It was, first off, like going to RIT, the school itself and everything like that, very professional, wonderful school. It was an incredible opportunity for myself and to be able to play that kind of hockey against some some very good hockey players that are now, continuing their career and playing in the NHL and things like that. Just those experiences was something that that you look back on that you'll never take for granted, and you'll always continue to tell players that if they get those chances to live for them and kind of push to do their best, because it's something that I would recommend to a lot of different young kids coming up and things like that. But getting into RIT was I was a 20-year-old, so I played all my years of junior, all my eligibility years of junior was taken up, and I had a quite strong 20-year-old season in the AJHL, and started talking to schools at a bunch of different levels in Canada here at CIS, to the Division 3 to Division 1 programs in the NCAA in the US and stuff. And it was kind of near the end of the season and stuff when I started to kind of whittle it down to a couple different schools. And and some of the things the parents are going through right now from some of our kids, and what we can kind of go through with them is the stress level that kind of comes out at some points when you're trying to figure out what's the best fits for you, and kind of the pros and cons when there isn't a whole lot of cons, right? And it's kind of a difficult process to kind of go through, but I ended up making the decision to go to RIT, and you know what, for the couple of years I was there, it was definitely a pretty good choice.
Now, did you have any representation, like advisors at the time, or were you kind of making this decision on your own?
So that one was on my own. So I didn't meet Matt till a couple of years later, when he actually helped me with a little bit of the advising stuff when I was at RIT. But no, I was fortunate enough to have a very good set of parents that pushed me to the next level as I was getting older and kind of going through junior and stuff like that. But they kind of understood that to take things one step at a time. And like I said, the whole pros and cons thing, to kind of weigh all the options out and stuff like that. So I guess without actually having an advisor or any kind of representation like that, I had an advisor or a group of advisors in my parents. And I was very fortunate, like I said, to kind of have that and stuff. But no, that was at the time, is, like I said, as stressful and kind of going through all the stuff as it is, that was a lone decision for our family. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always amazing to have supportive parents, of course. Just you don't realize it until you get older. They do so much for you, and it's great that you had that type of those type of role models, that type of support at that time in your life when you made a big decision like this, a life-changing decision to attend school in the U.S., play Division I NCAA hockey. Just speaking about the type of competition that you got to play in that league. Someone's getting the phone call. Who was that?
That was
Is
me.
that Maddie?
Sorry.
Yeah. He's a busy man. We'll give him a pass.
Sorry, guys.
No worries. But just getting to go up against all this top level talent from different places in the States and the NCAA, just that experience of getting to play against the best of the best at that time.
Yeah, no, that was pretty incredible, right? Like, it didn't matter like whether you're playing an in-conference game. So RIT was in the Atlantic Conference, so schools Niagara and Canisius and schools like that were all in our conference, and we'd play a good third of the season out of conference too. So we traveled to Penn State, Yale, schools like that, and when it didn't matter like whatever conference you were playing in, things, you always played against some really good hockey players, and they all were getting recognized in their own certain ways, whether they were just planning on kind of pursuing their academic and athletic goals at a university, and then kind of putting the pro stuff to the side, or else if their goals were to ultimately go professional somewhere afterwards, right? So there was tons of good hockey players. We can name off too many, to be honest, that are now still playing, even after all these years and stuff like that. So it's something that you kind of strive to do, because I think as a competitive athlete growing up and all that, you always, more than not, like most young players want to play against the best, and kind of that's when you have the most fun.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it challenges you, and I'm a pretty competitive person, same with Matt and stuff, which is why we kind of work well together at MCN. So but with that competition against all these other teams, and in the fan bases and stuff like that too, it's it's pretty unique and special.
Yeah, and just what was that opportunity like? Just the types of crowds that you guys had coming out to the games to watch. Yeah, I'm assuming it was pretty crazy. It's just I've had a chance to watch a bunch of college sports, and the crowds are always rabid. But what was it like for hockey from that side of things? Just that sport.
It was actually pretty incredible. So when you think about the NCAA, the most televised sports are obviously football, and then you get some basketball stuff with March
Yeah,
Madness and all that too, and all that, right? And we always see these massive fan bases of tens of thousands of people at these games and things like that. And a lot of rinks and arenas and stadiums and stuff for hockey actually in the NCAA do have upwards of 10, 15,000 people. They definitely have that, but even I guess you can't even say lower end programs, but like with not so many fans, you're still looking at 4, 5, 6,000 fans for a game, right? And it's pretty incredible to not only have your own fans that are there every single game, season ticket holders, people that have been fans of the school and program for many years, and they just love the team. They love all the traditions and the salutes to the crowd after the game, and all the stuff like that, and the stuff in between whistles and intermissions. That's what they go to the game for too, as much as they want to watch good hockey, right? And so from the fan base in RIT, like that was incredible. They had a corner crew, the RIT corner crew, who was about a couple hundred people, students, and again guys that have been around in that program for a while and stuff, with watching games, and they were loud, and you don't even want to say obnoxious because you loved it. And even if you
yeah,
visited away programs, and we went to Penn State and stuff, they had a brand new arena too that first year, and I mean those fans were enjoying, like, joyful obnoxious, I guess you'll say, and it was just incredible. And as much as they told you that you sucked, and they would boo you and do all this kind of stuff, you kind of had to put a smile on your face, because I mean you had to be doing something right most of the time when people were heckling you that bad, right? So it was incredible, the campuses we got to see going around and
yeah.
things like that with the fans, right? Like when you go outside of games and stuff at Penn State, for example, you're going around, the rink isn't very far from 110,000 football stadium, right? Like it's a pretty unique experience to see all that stuff for sure. And yeah, there's too many stories again about like these fans that
Yeah.
are telling you, like I said, you suck, and you're kind of like looking in the back of your mind, you know what? Like I don't think I'm that bad. I really don't think I'm that bad. We're playing against each other right now, so it's honestly, if you love the game and you kind of love the situation, and like you love every single aspect of it. So
Can you? Yeah, that's crazy. Just the types of fans just telling you suck. It's like I'm trying my best. I think I'm pretty good. I'm on a Division 1 level hockey team. Must be doing something right. But yeah, just talking about that opportunity that you got to play. Just where were you playing in the lineup throughout your time at RIT?
so I started off being as a freshman in a lot of different situations. You're kind of we went into my first year at RAT. We had 3 freshman defensemen come in, and 5 freshman forwards. So it's a decent sized kind of group coming in, but at the same time, you have to really earn your spot. And I felt like in the first year it went extremely well. We kind of were all in and out of the lineup as 3 defensemen, in and out, getting opportunities and stuff. And by the time the last 5-10 games of the season rolled around and into the playoffs, I was fortunate enough to play quite consistently on the top 2 pairings, and got a lot of ice time and a lot of good experiences. And yeah, it was great. I mean, you kind of go into those just like junior experiences and stuff too, as competitive as you are, and as much as you want to succeed individually. Like everyone wants to also make sure that their teammates are having success too, right? So when other guys were in the lineup, you're just as happy as if you were in the lineup too, because you just kind of ultimately want to win, which is why you're all at that level anyways. So yeah, I was very fortunate to get a lot of games in my first year. Second year was a little bit different. We had a couple more freshman kind of guys come in from the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League as defensemen, and another couple guys from actually BC and Alberta as well. And the competition for spots was quite fierce, and all that. And again, guys were shuffling in and out of the lineup. And at a certain point in the year, I was kind of looking at some different stuff, like in for my hockey career as well. And actually, that's where I actually reached out to Matt just to see, not that RIT was, a bad program by any means or things like that, but when you choose a university to go to, you kind of want to, when I say weighing the options and stuff, sometimes when you are making that decision yourself and you kind of just jump, you kind of look back and think, you know what, there might have been a different option for me down the road for like depth purposes for lineups and all that and stuff too. So, and that's kind of where I met Matt, and I reached out to him saying, hey, like, my name's Dustin. I got referred to you from a former coach, and, like, is there other options for me to go to? And actually from my second year at RIT, I went down to the University of Lethbridge for a year after that, where I played there at the CIS level for a year, and then got into coaching and all that, and skill development and all that too. And but as for the kind of the situations in the NCAA hockey and things like that, there's never any guarantees in hockey. There's never any solidified positions or anything like that. Coaches will always do what they want to do or what they think is best for their organization, and ultimately you're a player, right? So you don't have too much say in too many different positions, but they went a different way with what they wanted to kind of do, and I was trying to find a different spot that would better suit my career myself. So with Matt's help and all that, and he just started up MCN, I think, around that time ish or so. And we ended up finding another spot for me to kind of continue on, so it actually worked out for the best.
Yeah, that's great that even though like things didn't quite work out at RIT, you still had a chance to go somewhere else and play. So you'd say that probably the biggest thing that you could take away from your college career, your time playing college hockey, is just don't take anything for granted.
Absolutely. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in junior, playing for in any single level or league, or if you go into the NCAA, Div 1, Div 3, the ACHA, CIS, wherever it's going to be, enjoy your time, right? Like, you only get those years once in your life, clearly. And it's just one of those things where there's so much positive in those situations that I can't look back and just say, just because the second year of RIT might have been a little bit rocky for me, that I didn't enjoy being at RIT, because the people, the fans, the friends I met for life that you meet throughout hockey is just incredible, that I still talk to this day. And it's one of those things where if you have the opportunity, like, definitely make the most of it and take it, take those things as they come, and you'll kind of deal with, in any sport, you'll deal with the rocky road side of things as they come, with the help of parents, advisors, whatever it's going to be. But it's definitely one of those things where, personally, from our hockey experiences, we can say just enjoy the moment and love where you're at and love what you're doing, and everything will also fall in place.
Yeah, for sure. Love the message. And we're gonna talk about MCN sports advising and skill development in just a moment. After these next two commercial breaks, I've been joined by Dustin Fosvelt. He's a MCN sports advisor skills coach, and I've been joined by the owner as well, Matt Gorman of MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. On this edition of the Prospect Show, of course, we'll be back in just a moment, but first, some commercial breaks from some of our sponsors. Stick with us.
At Super 8 Winnipeg West, we have your comfort in mind with free Wi-Fi and free daily Superstart breakfast. We also have guest laundry facilities, a state-of-the-art fitness center, and a jetted hot tub. Sleep well in a spacious guest room equipped with plush new bedding, a 50-inch flat-screen HD TV, microwave, mini refrigerator, and Keurig coffee maker. Or book a suite with a kitchen, ideal for extended stays. Super 8 Winnipeg West, located just inside the perimeter on Portage Avenue.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Of course, I've been joined by two gentlemen from MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development today. The owner, Matt Gorman, all the way to my right on the screen, and one of their sports advisor skill coaches, Dustin Fosvelt. We've just been talking about their histories in hockey up until this point before MCN. Now we're going to dive into MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. So just starting off with you, Matt, since you are the owner, just what is MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development?
Well, thanks, Graeme. So basically, as far as the MCN side, we're a team of guys that has been around the game, and they've played at the top levels and competed and had highs and lows in their game. And basically, I would say that first and foremost, the experience of each of our advisors comes from a hockey path of actually playing, and which in turn is mentoring. You know, when we start to talk about the advising side, I see all of our guys as fantastic mentors to the game, and helping understand the highs and lows of the games for the players, and being able to relate is really important. So that, because there's a lot of kids that mentally they'll shut down if something doesn't go their way, they'll shut down, and having the support of our advising guys that have been there, and believe me, I've been there. I mentioned as far as my career and the uncertainty of that. That's probably first and foremost when it comes down to advising. The number one is the mentoring side, being able to chat with the families and help them understand that this is normal, the process of going to training camps and being cut essentially, and maybe not being a fit that you may have been told that you would be, in that type of stuff. And second of all, I guess number two in what we do is, as far as the advising side, is the exposure side, being able to speak to coaches at the junior levels, at the university levels, at the pro levels, as far as what we see as a group of guys. We do have females as well, so they get involved in our discussions as far as individual players and what we see in their attributes of players. It's not just Matt says this and this is the way it is. It's basically our team of guys giving insight for the best interest of the young player, and being able to discuss as far as on ice attributes. Maybe they lack the defensive game, and one of our teammates say, "Hey, Matt, you know what? He's got to work on this." So we're able to give some evaluations and feedback to our kids from a skill side of things. Just from a strict skills development side, our team of advising can assist the players to kind of look at their game as a whole, and then give that appearance to the coaches at the next level to watch the players. Now, we don't sugarcoat anything. It has to be credible information. I'm not going to tell a coach that a player is going to score 40 goals when he scored 6 goals all year. That's just not what we're going to do. So when it comes down to looking at players, everyone has their views on each individual player that we assist in, as far as the hockey side. Academics obviously come into play, and we look at the academics side when it comes down to university and where they best fit for a university program. If the athletics and the academics are going to be able to, the player going to be able to succeed at that next level. So as far as that end, we work as a team to basically open up the doors to get the look for the young players coming through from the advising side.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Just you guys focus on like all these different areas too. Just for you, the goals of MCN, well, for MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development, the goals is to educate, advise, and mentor. Just after you retired from pro hockey back in 2008, what drove you to go into the advising side of things rather than maybe picking a different career path in sports?
Well, for one, my experience as a junior player, my experiences and basically the flaws that I had in my mental thought as far as importance of school and academics. It has to be a whole, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to navigate out of that end and look at being part of hockey still. Whereas you get into the idea that you're a hockey player, you can't be one dimension, and I think that being able to help the young players through the process. That way they're educated on the decisions that they may make. Maybe it's the Western Hockey League side. Maybe they're being pulled that way to go to the Western Hockey League and just forfeit their eligibility for NCAA. And we're able to give them the facts before they make those decisions. And basically goal setting is a huge part of what we do. And looking at a game plan for each individual basis. So the passion that I believe that that I have, I hope rubs off on these kids and basically enlightens them a little bit and helps them understand that they want that you need that academic side along with the hockey side. So you got to work in both ends, and even in jobs, finding different jobs over the summers. Being active in other sports and just evolving into other areas is really important.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's awesome that you've been able to use your experiences, just the errors that you might have made, not exactly errors, but like you said, flaws, and really use them to benefit what is MCN sports advising and skill development. At the start, just how did you start off in terms of just how big the team was, how many clients you guys were getting? Just explain how the journey has been for MCN.
Well, it started to get a little larger as far as with the skills development side. A good friend of mine actually got me onto the skills development side in Chris Joseph, St. Albert guy, and he actually opened my eyes to the skills side, and I can't thank him enough. He basically offered me an opportunity to go to Hinton and run a hockey school there through MCN, and that's when I fell in love with that end of things too. I always thought of myself as a creative style of player, and I always wanted to come up with this hocus pocus type of ideas. And now it basically paved that path to being able to open up skills development as well as advising. So it's all it just kind of snowballed into to gaining more traction in different associations and associations allowing us to be part of their team of developing young athletes. And that's where when I started, you can only be on your skates so much, for example, and you can only be in the rinks and offer yourself so much to players. And we spoke of team right from the start of this conversation, and that's when I've always been about team. And teammates are really important in picking the right ones so that they're able to offer the young players all of them and being open and teammates is huge to me, and I'm glad, and I think I've picked the right guys and they've picked me as well. So I think that's what it all comes down to is just having a team of people that are believing in the same thing for these kids and the best interest of the kids. You know what, it just kind of happened, to be honest.
Yeah.
The skill side kept going, and the advising side kept going, and we thank God for my team of guys. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and it seems like you have a great team of guys with you. And this guy, Dustin Fosvelt, just after playing NCAA hockey and then, moving to Lethbridge and playing there, you're now the MCN Sports Advisor Skills Coach. So just for you, Dustin, how did it all start for you to be joining MCN?
Well, that was it was actually pretty unique situation actually in late December, I think it was. Like I mentioned, I met Matt and he worked with me a little bit at RIT my second year there and helped me move my hockey career forward a little bit. But we kind of were just we'd keep in touch over the last couple of years and stuff like that. And check in how things are going. He knew I was doing some coaching now in the minor hockey level in Edmonton at the AAAs and all that, and kind of would just check in every now and then. And it was kind of funny. But in early December, I was talking to my fiance a little bit about, what am I going to do after this COVID situation kind of comes out? Am I going to do some hockey stuff? Do I want to, coach? What do I kind of want to do? Because I always want to stay involved in the game. And, I was kind of mentioning her, I wonder, if there's ever any opportunities to kind of, get a little bit more involved with Matt at MCN and see what he's kind of got going on with like a side thing and all that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, about 3 weeks later, he messaged me on Twitter and kind of asked me how things are going, like our usual conversations. And then he said, hey, would you ever be interested in kind of, dipping your toes a little bit into the advising side of things? And I was kind of talking to my fiance. I was like, isn't it kind of crazy how 3 months ago we were talking about what's my next step in hockey going to be and things like that.
Yeah.
And ever since end of December, been obviously with COVID, a lot of Zoom calls. I think we're going to be over the whole Zoom situation soon, but it's been great. It's been wonderful. It's amazing to go through a bunch of different avenues with different levels and aged athletes and things like that. And I'm extremely thankful for Matt for giving me this opportunity and stuff. And it's definitely something that I kind of think was going to fall into place for me. Well, I didn't see falling in place for me, but I'm sure glad it did.
Yeah, and that's just crazy how opportunity presents itself. Like you said, 3 months ago at the time, you didn't know what your next move would be, and then boom, here you are working for MCN. Just for you, what's the day-to-day been like throughout your time with MCN? I guess with COVID specifically, just throughout this whole pandemic, the whole year and a bit. Just what's it been like with the day-to-day for you?
Well, first and foremost, I've leaned on Matt a lot, right? As being about,
he had a pretty good grasp on it.
Yeah,
he got it figured out.
I leaned on him quite a bit, just as for like the whole, not really knowing what was the difference between doing stuff during the COVID era and then doing stuff that he's done for the last 7-8 years on a regular year with MCN. And I would consistently ask him questions and things like that, and how should we approach this and all that. So it's been, like I mentioned before, it's been a lot of video calls and Zoom calls with coaches, with players, with athletes and stuff, with prospective athletes, and then with players that we work with and things like that as well. But it's been awesome. It's been great. It's amazing to be able to kind of take these young players and put yourself in that situation years and years ago, and kind of thinking, what would I have wanted? What would the options that I would have presented to me? What could I have learned in the mid-season of a season of hockey? Like what could have really helped me, benefited me, and things like that. And it's just fun. It's awesome to reach out to these coaches and stuff too, to help kids out and get camp invites, or to expose players to these levels and all that too. It's honestly it's just a fun thing to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for Matt, like he said, he's relied a lot on his experience. And for you, you committed to coaching at the minor hockey level, giving back to your roots. You bring top end knowledge of what it is to be like a player, because you've obviously played at the highest level in college there is. And just looking at those experiences, how the experiences of you playing as a player and coaching really helped grow yourself as an advisor at this point.
Well, I think Matt nailed it best when he said your experiences kind of reflect into how you interact with players and families, right? I think on the playing side of things, and we'll say both the positives and negatives, right? Because not everything is always too difficult in hockey. There's a lot of positives and stuff too that kind of come along that you want those players to experience the same things, right? And you want them to be able to reach whatever academic athletic goals that they may have, that I was fortunate enough to kind of progress into and things like that. But you kind of, it is all about experiences. It's what you dealt with, the roller coaster that is a competitive sport. the lows and stuff, how to deal with those, what you went through and all that, and then just expressing that to players and things, that you work with in coaching or advising. Like this happens in games. You're not gonna put up a goal every game. You're gonna have some turnovers every game. You're gonna make mistakes, but how do you react to that? What do you do differently? And just from like what you've kind of went through yourself. And I think that's been probably the biggest thing that I've kind of learned is using kind of like what's in the back of my mind from what I've gone through into pushing it and kind of helping out families and kids into what they may go through in the future as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's great that you've been able to really bring the experiences that you've had with you into being the advisor that you are at this point. Now, just in terms of how many clients that you guys got, I'll ask this question for Matt. Just how many clients would you say that you guys get in say a regular year, like in an average year? How many clients do you guys represent and advise?
Well, now we're just over the 50 mark. So basically, when we have, and that's through COVID, so it's been interesting. It's been 18 months of this COVID situation, and the thing is with the advising side, they're all at different age groups. So we have some kids that are 06s. We have kids that are going into their second year midgets. And then we have also players that are graduating university and going into the pros, into the minors. And then, players that are in junior right now looking to go to the university side. So we're really, as far as the numbers side, we'll keep progressing, and we've got the guys to be able to withstand that, the numbers as well. We have quite a few teammates that are able to take a few guys on, and it's not just a matter of taking players on. You need the time for them. If anybody's going to say that this job is an easy job, or it doesn't take hours and time, they're really fooling themselves, because you put a lot of work into this. We're in touch with these young players at least twice a month. We want to hear about them. We're in touch with coaches nonstop, and really it's quite time consuming. So you can only handle a few players, as each person is, because time restraints, for example.
Yeah, and I asked Dustin about the day-to-day for him. Just what's the day-to-day been like for you as the owner of this company? Just, of course, you oversee everything. Just, I'm assuming that the workload is quite a bit with how busy you guys are with managing clients and stuff like that.
You know what, my role day-to-day is a lot of emails. I think my phone goes off like crazy. So I'm always navigating phone calls from coaching staff or scouts and players and parents, and that seems to be nonstop. And then obviously our skills development side, our team of people, our team of guys, our skills coaches, we'll have discussions about what we want to progressively teach and always move and advance and gain our knowledge. So we're always thriving for the next best maybe dangle for these kids to learn. Maybe it's the next best skating technique, or analyzing, games. We watch games quite often, and it's always busy times. My wife Tara does a lot of the business side of things and lets me play and enjoy the hockey side. I get to go out and meet families, and I love that part, and meet with a team of guys. Even just sitting here with Neil and Dustin. Dustin and Neil just came here, and getting to do those things, I just love that part. I get to go out, interact with the coaching staff of teams, and meet players and families. That's what I love doing. And as far as the overall operations, I leave that to the pro. So I know my role, and it's emails and phone calls, and I do a lot of that. It's time consuming in that way. So.
You spoke about someone named Neil. I'm assuming he's on your team as well.
Yeah, Neil just came here. He showed up for the event here with the Whitecourt Wolverines in the HHL, and we were just going to go watch a little hockey. he came a little late to the show, so hopefully you get him on next time.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on the show. Of course, Eddie Steele, Grey Cup champion from my hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Would be awesome to have him on. But yeah, lots of great stuff that you guys are doing. And you currently, like MCN currently owns and operates MCN shooting and skill development facilities in various locations in the Edmonton area. Just how huge is that for you guys? Just given your the people you advise, the players you advise, just an opportunity to grow their skills in these skill development places.
You know, that is I think that's really unique as far as for the opportunities for the young players, the young shooters. We even do ringette in there. We have somebody that does ringette lessons in there and shooting rings to better their sport. Being able to break down, all of our guys, as I mentioned, are ex-players. They've all analyzed the game. They've all been there. And like for Dustin, for example, he can go in there and teach various shooting methods and break down things and take the time individually for players. And that goes so far. So when you see the change from our shop to going on ice, it's night and day because of the mechanics and being able to break down little details for these kids individually. So I just see such an advantage for the kids. And obviously our team of guys enjoy that end of things too, going in there, spending an hour with the players, shooting pucks, passing, stick handling, and working them as far as young athletes. So it's been a really good compliment to the community, I think, as far as for the kids coming through and having some fun in there. No kid leaves not high-fiving and smiling and with a little bit of a sweat. So that's how you know it's a good place.
I mean, let me tell you, Matt, if I was in a situation of being one of the players that you guys advise and I got to come into this area and practice my skills, my dangles, my shooting, just you name it, I'd be I wouldn't want to leave. I wouldn't want to leave, to be honest. Yeah, it's great.
You're always
that
welcome.
You guys, You're
always welcome to come out this way, Graeme, and Dustin and I will put you through the ringer in the shop there, and we'll work on that backhand, buddy. The backhand flip, that works best.
Let's do it.
Might have to take you up on that opportunity at some point coming up this year. But with the
anytime.
With the for sure. With the skill development facilities, just how's that been like with COVID? Just handling, just operating stuff like that. I'm sure that some of the restrictions have not allowed for you guys to use the facilities at all at one point. What's been going on with that?
It's been a nightmare. The on and off switch as far as the skills and the numbers and one-on-ones and then cancellations, and it has been it's been really difficult to navigate all the different regulations from the Alberta government and obviously all over the world. So I won't begin to complain and go that end, but it's just definitely trying. And from the operations side, it's been interesting to say the least. We've been very fortunate. A good friend of mine owns a E kennels out that way, and he's allowed us to go in there and use that facility. So he hasn't been too hard on us in that end. So as far as the high cost of rent and all that end of things, we've had some reprieve. So I can't really complain too much.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see it get back to normal at one point, and then you guys can have your normal sessions going. But in terms of just the various locations that you got in the Edmonton area, how many of these facilities do you guys have at this point?
Well, up until COVID, actually, we had 3, and one in Drayton Valley, one in Leduc, and one in Stony Plain. But just due to the situation and the basically just being pulled everywhere, we closed the one in Drayton Valley and the one in Leduc side of things, and now we just strictly run in Stony Plain.
Nice. You guys, after COVID, thinking of expanding to more areas, or just kind of keeping it how it is right now?
I don't foresee us going into any other areas. I just think that we'll be busy enough with everything else going on. We're looking at floorball. We're going to be creating a league of floorball in the near future. We had that idea before COVID even hit, But
Yeah.
I would like to see I was a big fan of floorball in Europe when I was playing there. I'd go watch that on my off time, and it's something that we did talk about in a previous show with you guys. But I can see that really taking off as far as an actual floorball league throughout our communities here, and we're going to be pounding the pavement for that end to start in the near future.
Yeah, and floorball is great. I've had a chance to watch, what's his name? Pavel Barber is big into the floorball. He's that YouTuber who has all those crazy dangles. And yeah, he's played for Team Canada, which is pretty cool. And yeah, just it's a great training tool because I feel like it works on those quick hands for sure. Just working on controlling the puck, stuff like that. But yeah, just for you, Dustin, just having the opportunity to like you guys are at right now, you guys are gonna watch some hockey after this. Just that idea of putting yourself out there and just to kind of get the name of MCN out there more and more. Just how huge is it into just making the effort of driving out and going to hockey games like this to just let people know that you guys might be in attendance.
Well, I think first and foremost, it's more so we love to do it. Like I think if summer, winter, whatever the season's going to be, we love to be at the rink. We love to, as Matt said, interact with players, coaches, families, whatever it's going to be. Obviously, on the side of things of us getting out there, it does benefit us to watch players and all that as well. But the whole purpose of, as Matt has stated before, of MCN is kind of just if players need help with anything or need anything with advising or the mentoring side of things, then we just want to be available to them, right? So we kind of just want to be present in a lot of different situations so that if we come across a family or a player that could really use MCN services, then they just have that option, right? Because a lot of the time it is difficult to search out players that might need it, and if they don't know of any kind of group or company that could help their son or daughter out with like the mentoring or advising or whatever it's going to be, then it is difficult for them to find that. And when we go to these camps or whatever it's going to be, it's A, we love it, and B, it's kind of just ultimately if it helps these players and their families that they kind of they ask questions, always asking questions, always wondering like what's going on, what can you guys help us with, or what do you guys do? It's a lot of that. What does MCN do? That's a lot of the questions we get all the time from different families and players and all that and stuff, and never get tired of explaining it. So it is beneficial for us to go to these different camps and skates and stuff, but at the same time we absolutely love to do it.
Yeah, that's great. And if you love to do it, it's only going to make work that much more enjoyable. So another question before I let you guys go here is just for MCN sports advising and skill development. Say if I was second year bantam, I was looking for some representation. How would I get involved, get in contact with you guys, and you guys representing me as a player?
Well, thanks, Graeme, for asking. So basically, we are on Instagram, we're on Twitter a little bit there. Our website is online. I'm always open to chatting. You can contact myself or Dustin through the phone or email, and basically as soon as you go on the website, you find our contact information, and we'll get back to you. There's a little bit of a section where you can go in and type in your email and your phone number and ask questions, and it comes directly to us there, and we're sure to respond with that end of things. But there's zero pressure, and we say that all the time, Dust, as far as when we speak with families shouldn't feel pressured to have an advisor. That's just the way it is. They shouldn't feel pressured to have an advisor. We love to educate the families. That's fine. We'll educate all day long. If we can give them their options and help them understand, we'd like that time for 40 minutes to sit down and on a Zoom, so that when it comes down to making a decision, whether it's a Western Hockey League or the NCAA potential, they have the information to make a good decision based on their son or daughter. And that's all we want to do. We want to discuss some goals and discuss different avenues that they may take, and that we can assist in opening up for them. But as far as pressure sales or anything, if anybody's pressuring these kids, that's just not the way to do things, because you don't necessarily need an advisor. We say that all the time. It has to be a fit for the player, because the player is the one that makes the teams for themselves. We can open the doors, we can use our network and give our credible information like we mentioned before, and navigate through the academics and athletics, but there's no pressure here from our side of things.
Well, that's awesome, man. I think that's perfect. Don't put any unnecessary pressure on the players. Just let them try to guide them, like you've said, and give them the info for them to make the best decision possible for their future, and potentially choosing you guys as representing them. So like Matt said, you know where to find the places where to potentially sign up and maybe try these guys out if you want to have your kid have some representation for any ages, really, basically. And yeah, it's a great agency for sure. Check them out, MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. So I'm going to let you both go now, Matt and Dustin. It was great getting to meet you both and talk to you on this Friday. Turned into Friday afternoon, so where I am right now. So yeah, it was great having you guys on the show this week. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate your time, Graeme. You make it easy for us guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, Graeme. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I appreciate the kind words as well. That was Matt Gorman and Dustin Fosvelt. Matt, the owner of MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development, and Dustin is the MCN Sports Advisor Skills Coach. I'll be back after the break. I gotta refill my water here because I am gonna do another interview coming up. We're gonna bring it to you guys in just a moment, but first we're gonna go to another commercial break on this edition of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Stick with us. I'll be back in just a moment with a new guest.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance. Quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you, with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Joining me now is the Canadian Director of Scouting for Scouting Neutral Zone Hockey. It's Marlin Muylaert. He joins me now to just talk about what Neutral Zone is, as well as just the events they got coming up. Marlin, thank you so much for joining me on this Friday morning. Of course, this episode going out on this Friday night. How are you doing this fine morning?
I'm doing terrific. Thanks, Grant, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be awesome to just talk about what Neutral Zone is and just your position as the Canadian Director of Scouting. So first question is just when did you start your position as Canadian Director of Scouting for Neutral Zone?
So I've been with Neutral Zone since their inception in 2015. At that time, it was just an idea between the ears of a gentleman by the name of Brendan Collins, who was a U.S. hockey scout. And Brendan and his partner and owner, Steve Wilk, wanted to create an independent scouting service that dealt just with amateur hockey across North America. Steve, being the father of a hockey player, felt that there was often information and things he was missing in trying to guide, his son's progress in the sport. And, Brendan, as a very involved scout, knew that there were some gaps in the scouting process. So they got together with the idea of starting this agency where I guess the big point we need to make is there were agencies that would write reports on prospects if the parents paid them. So you can see the obvious bias if you're writing a scouting report and the parents paying you. So those weren't very reliable scouting reports. So they had to create a model where our service and our scouting was not paid by parents, so we were beholden to nobody. Yeah. So we put a staff together across North America, and we've got a great staff. And we just started going to all the major tournaments and watching the best prospects in the best leagues that were going to progress and writing our reports. And then we would just file them on our website. So our website became a big database for hockey people. And then what we allowed anybody to do was to subscribe to our service, whether it be for a 1 month or a 1 year. That was completely up to the person. If you wanted to get your hands on our information and access it, you simply took out a monthly subscription. And that way we're not beholden to anybody. We fund our entire scouting staff and business through monthly subscriptions to our website. And we launched the website in 2016. And to this date in 2021, we've had over 5,000 subscribers. Now I will say a lot of those subscribers are parents, because, there's obviously a big interest for parents to read what we're saying about their kids or their teammates or the leagues they're playing in. So they're very interested in that. But we have got probably most of Division I and Division III men's and women's hockey. We've got the United States Hockey League, the North American Hockey League. Most of those teams subscribe to our service. U.S. prep schools. We've got here in Canada major junior A teams throughout the CHL. A lot of teams in the Tier 2A, junior A. We've got player agents that subscribe to our service. We've got a few NHL clubs that are subscribers as well. So, our tentacles and our outreach are very good. In 5 short years, we've been able to establish a credibility in the hockey community for the services we're providing here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just branching out to not only places like colleges, but like NCAA, but also like the CHL, the NHL, and the other places that you mentioned. Just starting this off back in since like 2015, 2016. Just what's the journey been like of being able to just grow what Neutral Zone is today?
Well, I'll tell you what I've been most impressed by and I refer back to Brendan and Steve, the guys with the original vision. They got in this for the right reasons, and that was to help the game of hockey and to help the kids. It was not a money-making endeavor. For 5 years, we're just probably approaching the point where we're breaking even. And yet their resolve to do this out of pocket and to make us a preeminent scouting organization, has been remarkable. Those guys their commitment is deep. And so that allows us as scouts to go out there and put the effort in, knowing we're being supported by these guys. So it's been a fun journey, growing every year. I remember going down to our first NCAA convention in Naples, Florida, talking to teams. No one knew who Neutral Zone was. We'd flash our rankings up on the screen and go, well, here's your recruits here where we've got them ranked. And they were going, holy jumping, like, that's pretty darn good. To the fact now where, I'll go into a store or a school or somewhere and someone will see my NZ logo and go, oh, are you with Neutral Zone? So, it's a whole branding thing. It's a visibility thing, and it's a credibility thing. And I think we've established the visibility and the credibility. So it's been a really fun ride. I love these guys. I love this company, and very blessed to be associated with them.
Yeah, and that must be a great sense of pride for you, just knowing that people recognize you when you wear the Neutral Zone logo. Just in terms of just how you guys have been able to grow with social media. Of course, in the 2010s, it seems like that's when social media really started to pop off. But just being able to reach out not only on your personal, but also like the neutral zone account as well. How huge has social media played a part in getting the name out for you guys?
Well, I'll be the first to tell you that I'm probably a technological idiot. However, I've been able to navigate, Twitter, as all our scouts do. So we do a lot of what's called, Graham, parking lot post game. So we will finish scouting the game, and we'll hop in there and we'll give a 1-minute summary, a video of 2 or 3 kids that jumped out at us, and then tweet it. And we've got over 50 scouts across North America doing all of these tweets, to the fact where although we hold our own Twitter accounts, Neutral Zone's Twitter account is approaching 20,000 followers. We've got one gentleman, a former NHLer, and he's a great guy, and he's a real character in the game, named Ian Moran. People all over North America follow Ian. They love him. He's got a really unique outlook on the game. His heart's in the right place. And so, through Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and our postings of our articles, we're just, people know who we are. So social media has played a huge role, and I take none of that credit.
Yeah, for sure. Just social media, just a huge part of just any business nowadays, for sure. Nowadays, for sure, and just it's great that you guys have been able to grow the neutral zone account on Twitter, especially to where it's at this point. Just talking about the team that you guys got, you guys seem to cover everywhere in North America and in different places like the States and Canada. Can you just, has the team grown throughout the years, or has it kind of stayed the same since the very start?
Our key players are the same. Like the guys that make up our core have been there for a lot of years, since our inception. As I said, in 2015-16, we've added some, Jessica Cameron, who's in charge of our women's side, Ian Moran, who I've mentioned to you, Brian Murphy, Mark Balot. I mean, we've got a great team, a core team. But the scouting, and this is part of my role and Brian Murphy's role in the U.S., we've had scouts come and go. As you know, some have had other opportunities to move on, and we're all for promoting scouts. When we hire scouts, we're not just looking for ex-players or ex-coaches. We're looking for hockey junkies, anybody that shows us that they've got that motivation, that they want to scout. We give chances to, and the cream rises to the top. And some of our guys, bless their souls, have had opportunities to move on, and others are doing a great job for us, very loyal. I think what our scouts like is they're not designated to one age group, because we cover pretty well second-year Bantam right up through Tier 2 Junior A and Major Junior A. These guys are seeing different levels of hockey all the time, and for a hockey junkie, they love that. If you scout in the Canadian Hockey League, let's say in the Western League, you're predominantly probably scouting second-year Bantams, or in Ontario, first-year minor midgets.
Yeah.
Because that's your draft pool. But we get a chance to get out and see all of these kids play, and kids that we see in Bantam, we see a year or two later in midget, and a couple years later in Tier 2 Junior. So we've got multiple reports on these kids throughout the years, and quite frankly, you develop a little kinship towards your favorites, and you love to see them grow, and then you're proud when you loved a kid as a Bantam who went on and he's now been drafted in the NHL, and all of that stuff that keeps the scouts motivated. We have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe my hearing's a bit off, but did you mention Mark Boulanger with you guys?
Mark Balot.
Oh, okay. I got him mixed up with someone else. I thought you said the name.
Send us Mark Boulanger's resume. We may hire him.
Yeah, for sure. I might have to send him the info for sure. Maybe he'll be interested. But yeah, just for you as the Canadian Director of Scouting, what's the day-to-day been like for you, especially during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, yeah, that's been really interesting because in most years, I'm very busy day to day, and my job as Director of Canadian Scouting, I do a bit of scouting, but not as much as my guys do. They're the guys that are beating the bushes in the ranks and turning over the rocks and seeing everybody. My job is kind of to do the hiring across Canada and replacing of scouts as they move on, and making sure we have coverage at all the major events, and dealing with any of the scouts issues. I mean, it's a big coordinator's job is what it is. But I get out to some tournaments. I mean, I get out every year to the Rocky Mountain Classic in Calgary, and the Quebec major, their big CCM major midget tournament. And, so I get my fair share of hockey too. COVID has been a challenge because we've got these loyal guys and they're just chomping at the bit to do something, and there's been literally nothing to do. I mean, we just had hockey shut down, and it's been hard for them because, they jump on Twitter and they see their US brethren going everywhere. Every weekend they're flying here and they're going to a different hockey event in Canada. You can't go into a public park and ice skate, so, it's been really tough on those guys, but, things are opening up. And looks like we're going to have hockey in the fall. Fingers crossed. And they're like horse races. They're breathing hard, ready for that gate to open so they can run.
Yeah, and just like them, I'm chomping at the bit to see some minor hockey back, or just some junior hockey, amateur hockey, just in general. Just it hasn't felt right this year for sure,
No,
without having
and
minor
worse on
hockey.
the kids. Worse on the kids because at that age, the kids are young, they're excited, they're getting real good, they're working hard on their game, and they've got no avenue to expend that energy. I feel terrible for those kids.
Yeah, well, it's crazy, Marlin, because like I played minor hockey for my whole life. Highest level I played was AA, and in my last season, we end up losing in the semifinals, and I was like, man, wish I had one more year.
Yeah.
Fast forward to that year later, the teams that were making it far into the playoffs ended up getting the season stripped away due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing for me back then to just finish off my playing time, actually getting to play the games and not getting it taken away. And I feel for the seniors the most this season too, who were the kids who were aging out, because man, just getting your final season stripped away from you, it's almost like a crime for sure.
Kids playing their last year of junior A, hoping for that hockey scholarship, or kids playing in the CHL, trying to make one more impression on the pros that just didn't have a chance to showcase themselves. I mean, there'll be hockey for them somewhere. We know that, but it's a harder row for them to hoe now because they've lost that opportunity. And how do you not feel for those guys?
Yeah, it's out of our control, unfortunately. But for the players coming into next year, I think that the biggest message to take away from this all is don't take anything for granted. That's for sure, in my opinion. But we're going to go to our first commercial break here in this interview. I've been joined by Marlin Muylaert, Canadian Director of Scouting for Neutral Zone. We'll be back after the break to talk about the events coming up for Neutral Zone here on the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Stick with us.
Making the world a better place is always a work in progress, because our idea of success is not an endpoint. It's a new milestone from which we can move forward. As industries rise and new technologies take shape, we're committed to keeping pace, to ensuring our innovations are shared and our journeys celebrated, even as we set our sights on where to go next. This is how we live, how we learn, how we grow. Red River College. What we're doing is working.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I've been joined by Canadian Director of Scouting for Neutral Zone, Marlin Muylaert, on this edition of the show. He's the second guest joining us today in the second interview. And we've just been talking about what Neutral Zone is, the day-to-day that he's had, especially with this COVID-19 pandemic. We talked about some other things too. And now we're going to talk about the events that Neutral Zone has coming up. It seems like you guys got a lot of fitness testing combines coming up in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Fredericton, New Brunswick, and Wisconsin. Age groups are like 2003 to 2007. And you guys are also pairing up with people like Pinnacle Performance, Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camps, the Notre Dame Hounds, Prospects, Combine Junior Hockey Showcase as well. So just speak about what the fitness testing combines are, Marlin.
Sure. before I do that, let me just add too. We've been in long talks with Rink Hockey Academy in Manitoba,
Right,
and
yeah.
we actually had a date scheduled that had to cancel because of COVID. So we'll be bringing these fitness testing combines through Rink Hockey Academy to Manitoba as well, and not just for the rink players, for any of the prospects in Manitoba. So they're going to be a great partner of ours as well. But basically, what happened, Graeme, is we're a bunch of scouts and we're talking and we're interested in hockey development, and we basically scouting at any level. Doesn't matter whether you're scouting for junior or college or pros. Everybody's got the same job, and that job is to predict a prospect's ceiling. Whether that's for next year, how good are they going to be, or how good will they be in 3 years, or how good will they be in 5 or 10 years? It doesn't matter. You're trying to predict a ceiling. And the two common ways that we do that is number one, the eye test. We go and we watch a kid play, or we watch him play on video. How does he skate? How fast is he? How are his hands? How tough is he? Does he have discipline? We make all of those assessments. But they're qualitative assessments, Graeme. And what I mean is you could have 3 scouts watching the same kid, and they go away to write their report, and one scout absolutely loves the kid, and one scout's lukewarm on the kid, and the other scout rips the kid. It's qualitative. It's qualitative assessments, and while they're very important, they're not the be all and the end all. As you know, a lot of scouting seems just like it's educated guessing at times.
Yeah.
The other area of scouting that and especially at the NHL, it becomes really important, the Division I level and whatever, is background checks on the player. They want to know who are the parents and how big are the parents, because they think that's going to be a predictor as to what size the kid could be down the road, or how strong.
Right.
What's his family background like? Has he been in any trouble with the law? Is he a good student? Has he been in trouble at school? Is he playing other sports? I mean, there's no rocks they won't unturn to get information on kids. So that's been kind of the 2 areas. And the only thing quantitative that they've been able to measure is games played, goals, assists, points, and penalty minutes. Right? Yeah. So in predicting the ceiling, we got talking about athleticism and how many kids make it because they're great athletes. And we find it very interesting. There isn't a game you can't tune into at the NHL where they're not talking about some kid who's playing on the ice that night in the NHL becoming a great player who was bypassed in the CHL draft or wherever. Right. At 18, his game wasn't there, and so maybe they went the college route and developed over their 4 years of time at college. And part of their development was obviously becoming a better hockey. A big part of that development is they were becoming better athletes as well, and their game was good enough and their athleticism was good enough to get themselves that next chance as a free agent. And so we got looking at fitness testing scores, and basically the reason they hadn't been used in scouting is for 2 simple reasons. The first is inconsistency. Fitness testing throughout North America, and I'm sure it's the same way in Europe and overseas, fitness testing is inconsistent. And what I mean is, if you go to play for a team in Winnipeg, you go to play for the Winnipeg Jets, they're going to fitness test you, but they're going to use the tests they like. And then you're going to move over to Estevan, Saskatchewan, and you're going to play for them, and they're going to fitness test you, but they're going to use completely different tests. And so all over North America, we've got all of these teams and leagues and areas going all over the map in terms of what they want to test. So when they send their reports to a coach at what I call next level hockey decision maker, the coach or the GM, whoever is looking at that prospect's fitness testing, has no idea how to interpret that data because it's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
So that's been a big problem with fitness testing. The second problem with fitness testing is the delivery. And I say, and I was guilty of this, I coached university hockey for well over 20 years in both Canada and the United States. Fitness tests die a slow death on the coach's desk. So I go out and fitness test, and many of my colleagues, and we get our test results back, and I rank the players, number 1 right through number 20, best to worst. And then I hand off those reports to my strength and conditioning coach and say, okay, you got to fix these problems. We got to get these guys up to this, whatever. When that player now graduates and it's time for him to go play pro hockey, the tests never go with him. So we took it upon ourselves at NeutralZone to look at those two challenges and say, okay, what can we do to fix this problem and get fitness testing so that it's a valuable resource for scouting. So basically what we did, Graeme, is we hooked up with a couple of unbelievable strategic partners. The first group is Sports Testing Inc. And then their website is actually, if anyone wants to check them out, it's www.sportstestinginc.com. And what they have, and they work all sports, but related to hockey, they've got 5 or 6 drills, and they're all gait tested. So these gait tests pick up laser measures. And it's, they test for speed and agility and quickness and all of those things that are imperative to going up to the next level. Kids are given wristbands, and when they stop and start and go through these gates, it's all timed and tracked right to 100th of a second. And they're the world leaders in doing these type of tests. And they do these tests at the NHL level and the Canadian Hockey League level and Division I and everywhere. So it was very important to hook up with them and bring their test to the amateur hockey level. And now when we go into, whether we're testing in Los Angeles or Florida or Green Bay, Wisconsin, Fredericton, New Brunswick, Calgary, Alberta, or when we come into Manitoba, the tests will be the very same for all of the prospects. All right. The second is the delivery of the test results. And now I go back, and this is the role that NeutralZone can do that nobody else can. I mentioned earlier that we've got 5,000 subscribers and where our subscribers come from.
Yeah.
So now we've got the scouting report on the player, or we'll have a scouting report on the player, and we've got his fitness testing scores. So now we're going to marry that into one report. So when hockey decision makers at the next level want to check on, Graeme Forsyth from Manitoba, and they are going to get our opinion on how Graeme plays the game, and they're also going to see Graeme's fitness report.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
let's say you start with me as a Bantam, and we test you second-year Bantam, first-year midget, second-year midget. They're also going to see your growth and your athleticism, and that's a great predictor for future success. So this is an unbelievable opportunity for players to jump in year one and start tracking their fitness and what they get out of it. Knowledge is power. So a kid may be a heck of a player, but not a heck of an athlete yet. Maybe he doesn't work real hard off ice or doesn't value that yet. Well, he's going to see that, hey, I'm okay in these fitness tests, but I really lag behind in these. And if I'm serious about being a better hockey player, I got to improve this area of my fit. Now he can go to his strength and conditioning coach and go, here we go. Here's some hard data. I've got to work and improve on these. And anybody serious about their game is going to tackle their weaknesses. So we think that this is not just a great contribution to the scouting industry. We think this is a great contribution to the hockey development industry.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Like you said, you're not only gonna get the scouting report on how the player plays on the ice, but also what type of athlete he may be off the ice, and just track it consistently throughout his lifetime of just moving up from second-year bantam to first-year midget, second-year midget, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's amazing. And
people
yeah.
we've talked to in the Division I level and the pro level have expressed frustration about the inconsistency in fitness and say, if you guys can pull this off, it's data we want. So we know we're on the right track.
Yeah, and if you guys are able to pull this off, how huge is that going to be to
when we pull this off? There's no if.
When,
There's
right?
no if.
When. Yeah, so when you guys pull this off, just how huge is that going to be in just growing your subscriber base, just the number of followers that you guys got?
Well, obviously it's imperative to the business. It puts us in a class by ourselves. There are some regional companies that do very good jobs and they do what we do, but they're regional. We're the first one that's kind of North American. And what's great is if the general manager in out in the BCHL, he's looking for 2 recruits and he's got a kid interested playing in St. Louis, Missouri, and a kid interested in Halifax, Nova Scotia, he can go onto NeutralZone. We're going to have reports on both kids. he knows he's getting consistent reports, but he sees that neutral zone has one ranked higher than the other. That's pretty good data for him to base a decision on. Because we use a structured ranking profile, and we're pretty darn accurate with that. I mean, we've tracked our results where we've gone into CHL drafts, and we have a list of our 300 kids, and we see who's drafted, and you know, I would put our scouting record up against anybody in the industry. We're damn good at what we do.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like the results speak for themselves, no doubt about it. So, last question before I let you go: when are all of these fitness testing combines going to be happening? They're happening in the summer months, I'm assuming.
So we are next Friday. We're off to Tsuut'ina Nation, just outside of Calgary, for the Western Canada Hockey Exposure Group. We're doing their 02 to 05 group. The week later, July the 8th, we're in Green Bay, Wisconsin for the Pinnacle Performance Group. We're back to Tsuut'ina in July 16th. We're doing their 06 and 07 group. August the 8th, we're in Fredericton for the Prospects Junior Hockey Showcase. On the 14th of August, we are into Wilcox, Saskatchewan, running the event on behalf of the Notre Dame Hounds. But again, it's open to any hockey prospect in Saskatchewan. And as I said, we are getting pretty close to announcing our date through Rink Hockey Academy, where we're going to be coming to Manitoba. I believe Oak Bluff is their location. So, you know, we had to cancel. Unfortunately, we had a big one scheduled for the University of Guelph that got canceled 3 different times due to COVID, but we're looking at announcing our date there too. And, you know, we just started forming these partnerships in the spring. We've got some great partners. We're going to be adding more all across North America. And, you know, I'm telling you, in 5 years' time, there isn't a minor hockey player in North America who's not going to know what neutral zone fitness testing combines are.
Yeah, and no doubt about that. Like what you guys, I've said, what you guys are doing is really great, really awesome. Or I don't know if I've said it, but yeah, what you guys are doing is really great. And yeah, if you guys want to check out the fitness testing combines, you can sign up on the website at Neutral Zone.
For each area, we have a link. So there are different links for different locations. I'll tell you the easiest way is probably for me to give you my email or cell number, and anybody who's interested can contact me rather than go through all the different links we have. But the email is Marlin like the fish, MARLIN MUYLAERT@hotmail.com. Tell me where you're from, and I'll tell you if we're coming to your area or when we'll be coming to your area.
Right on, Marlin. And I'll put that in the description of this episode as well. And I know that I said it's from age groups 2003 to 2007, but you guys also do age groups like 2001 and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll do anybody that wants it. We don't go out and advertise anything younger than 2007 just because they're not physically developed enough for all the tests to make sense for them. This isn't a money grab. This is data that we want to have, and we just think that the 2008s right now are a little bit too young to scout or to fitness test. Although we have allowed a couple to come in and just participate in it because the parents think it's going to be a fun and a good experience, but it's not our target market, not our target market group.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Of course, Marlin Muylaert, Canadian Director of Scouting for Neutral Zone, joined me on the second interview in tonight's episode. I want to thank him for coming on the show, along with Matt Gorman and Dustin Fosvelt of MCN, Sports Advising and Skill Development. Of course, in this week's episode, it was a bit different. We didn't have any hockey players on, but that will probably change next week. We might have probably the biggest guest that we've ever had on the show next week. That's still in the works, so stay tuned for who that guest may be on our social medias like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can, of course, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at ASTV Productions and on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV to find out who those guests will be. We will also be posting who will be the full guest lineup in next week's episode, hoping to have Eddie Steele on, former CFL player and Grey Cup champion from the 2015 Edmonton Eskimos team. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun next Friday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on ASTV Productions. But until next Friday, folks, until I see you then, I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Have a wonderful weekend and stay safe out there too, eh? I'll see you later.